Hello again there, folks, in NTC Online. My name is Andre Blackman, your host today, and I'm here with Mark Horvath. And thanks for joining us, Mark. And
Thank
please
you,
go
Andre.
ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mark Horvath from InvisiblePeople.tv, which empowers homeless people to tell their own story on YouTube. And WeAreVisible.com, which empowers people with social media. I'm Hardly Normal on Twitter, or if I get too noisy for you, jump over to what I call Hardly Normal Light, which is Invisible People.
Okay.
And I have to say, I love this community. I love NTEN. I love you, NTEN.
Right. So you've been enjoying yourself at the conference?
Oh my gosh, last year was my first time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm part geek.
Yeah.
I got geek in the blood, and I want to affect real change. And I think everybody here has that commonality that just makes this such a cool community.
Fantastic. Well, I know earlier today we were talking to Beth Cantor, and we were discussing about the day of service that happened when the conference kicked off. Can you tell us a little bit about your
you're going to get me excited. First off, the day of service was helping DC Central Kitchen, and I love that model. And the homeless shelter and another organization, Wild Tech, that is actually the board of directors are homeless people, and they recycle computers to give to low-income people, families, and homeless people. It was just amazing. And I just love Beth Cantor. Besides getting up at an ungodly hour.
I heard it was early.
I'm on Best Coast time, which means it was like really early.
Oh, that's true.
Oh my gosh. At that early in the morning, you should only be eating breakfast or fishing.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
I love those options. Yeah.
We're in this, going there, but shot a bunch of video, took a bunch of stills. We were storytellers.
Exactly.
And we didn't create this big virtual wormhole vortex because, as I was storytelling the volunteers, Beth was storytelling us. So it was kind of like this big. It was awesome. It was awesome. I had a lot of fun.
All right. Well, speaking of storytelling, why do you think that's important with what we're doing with causes, when we're affecting communities, when we're trying to affect change? Why do you think storytelling is such a big deal right now, and especially as far as keeping things sustainable? Tell us about that.
Well, it was interesting. Last year everybody was not. This kind of goes side by side with South by Southwest.
Right.
So a lot of us do that, and the big talk was scalable. Is it scalable?
Right.
Is your organization scalable? This year there's this big, huge thing on storytelling.
There is. It's huge now.
And I'm sorry. I don't. Everything is story. To me, everything is story.
Right.
The way you answer the phone, what your business card looks like, what your website says. It transmits a story, and it's your story, and you have to protect your story. So any action you take, affects your story. But we're all storytellers. You get a flat tire on the way to work. You know what I mean? You're going to start going, to your boss. I'm sorry I'm late, but I got a flat tire. Was the 101? That's telling a story. But somehow we get this roadblock when we're doing it for our organizations.
Right.
I think some key ingredients is be real, be transparent. It's okay to talk about mistakes. You know what I mean? I think that's the big shift in both in both the .com and the .org,
right?
Is that years ago we were all trying to be perfect, and now
things are a lot more transparent.
They want the humor.
Real. Exactly.
We know there's a mistake.
Exactly.
You know that it's not a perfect organization. So I think a bit of that. Your medium changes the story.
Okay.
For instance, Twitter allows 140 characters.
Right.
Facebook allows a little more, and eBlast allows a little more.
Right.
Video, it's up to you where you're going to put it.
Exactly.
And it changes everything. Obviously, through video, you're going to get more of the emotion. Here I'm
body
tossing
language,
a salad,
hands,
and but you're telling the same story. So, and it's all got to work together. I mean, social media and storytelling without a strategy is a trick, not a tool. And I think that
write that down.
It is, and in today's age, I really think a couple things came up yesterday is that, we look at Roblox and we say, oh my gosh, I can't afford that, or I don't have the staff to do that, or I can't. Right. In today's world, in today's social media world, where I just came out of a session with, how Ushahidi now has crowd. It's free.
It's free. Yeah.
I don't have to hire a developer anymore. So everything you want to do, anymore, as we used to go, well, I can't. InvisiblePeople.tv was $45 startup.
Wow.
And it's a $6 a month server charge to keep it up there.
Yeah.
And it has done more than all the other homeless services, nonprofits, $1 million campaigns combined.
Yeah, you want to talk about return on investment.
Right.
Exactly.
So you can do it. It takes more work.
Yeah.
You might have to research more. You might have to partner with somebody who has a little more. But, here's the thing, Coca-Cola and all them, they have the big budgets to tell the stories. And you think, well, we can't compete. That's Coca-Cola, or that's Pepsi, or that's Ford. Yeah. We can.
Right.
We can.
Yeah.
It just takes a little more effort.
Yeah, you just need to start something. Just start and go along with it.
Another big change, too, is that years ago it was, okay, we're not going to launch our website until it's perfect. When I did We Are Visible, I knew I had to see how homeless people would use it, and then I would change it.
Tweak it from there.
Because you can't market to yourself. You cannot, all the stuff I like, you're probably not going to like.
Yeah.
And you're probably not going to like.
Right.
So I'm not going to know what you like until I ask you. And how do I ask you? Is I launch my website, and then I look at feedback, and then I repair and adjust.
Yeah.
So that's a big, huge shift. At least for me, because I'm an old school broadcaster.
Yeah.
And we didn't do anything until it was perfect.
Right.
You launched the TV and the campaign and the website and all.
And it was perfect for you guys.
Right.
And it might not have been perfect for your audience.
One of my favorite speakers is Brian Tracy. He says, the most expensive $1 million guided missile can't do a thing until it's launched.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, take your thing, and again, I'm focusing on smaller nonprofits. Yeah. Even the bigger nonprofits are going away from this big web presence to a blog where you can update your own as the main page. Your blog isn't hidden because everybody goes to your site for your blog anyway.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's
so,
a great point.
Forget all this other stuff, and you can, go and do an auto install on a WordPress blog or crowdmaps.com, get that map, populate all your data up there. Free.
Yeah.
Free.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh.
I think the only thing is time that we need to put together. But, once you have the energy for that, then you can always bring together more people onto the team.
Which, and I'm going to tie this all back to NTEN because, when you do look at this big tech world, and there's nonprofit marketers out there that are sharks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's a lot of bad information too.
Right.
And there's good people that just, so this community, both here as far as a conference and then through the connections of, the NTEN membership and everything else, helps me navigate that.
Yeah.
Because I know, oh my gosh, I need this kind of developer. It's like after this interview, I'm going to meet with somebody about this idea of homeless people self-reporting on SMS.
Fantastic.
So you know what I mean? And again, I don't have any budget.
Right.
So I'm going to talk to people until I can find somebody that's like-minded.
Exactly.
And we're going to make it happen.
Yeah. Team up and do it.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Mark.
Well,
and also,
thank you.
I think you brought a friend over here that we would love to really interview.
Eric Shptock was my hero. So.
Fantastic. All right, Eric, come on over here. Thank you, sir. Great to have you here. So for the people viewing online, just tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of what your mission is, just, what you're really passionate about right now, what you've been bringing to the table. Because I know you've been doing a lot of fantastic things. So please go ahead.
All right, sure. My name is Eric Shptock. I'm a homeless advocate here in Washington, D.C. I call myself the homeless advocate because I myself am homeless.
Okay.
Well, my story, at least in D.C., goes as such that I came up from Florida in 2005. I left on Bush's birthday, July 6, 2005. I came up the coast over the course of 25 days. I did a lot of stopping over.
Yeah.
And I got in here in D.C. on the night of July 31st, 2005. And I came because I knew that Bush had gone to war in Iraq based on lies, so I came as a peace activist.
Right.
And I had watched the entire lead up to the war, and I saw how Colin Powell changed from disliking the war to being in agreement with Bush. I also saw how the Bush changed his rhetoric for the war after the first shots were fired. And then I also heard about the Downing Street memo, which says that Bush and Tony Blair and a few other bigwigs made the case for going into Iraq before the UN inspectors even got on the ground in Iraq to look for WMDs. And then, of course, a few weeks ago, the informant that was used by the Bush administration to make the case for the war in Iraq, a guy who's given the code name Agent Curveball, he was found to be a fraud, and it turns out that he's been lying the whole time, and that's finally come out in the news. So anyway, I came because as a peace activist who disliked the fact that Bush went to war in Iraq based on lies, and then about 10 months after I got here, I heard that the homeless shelter where I was staying at, the Franklin School Shelter in Northwest D.C., was going to be closed by a previous mayor named Tony Williams.
I see.
And so about 12 homeless people formed the committee to save Franklin Shelter, and we fought that, and we actually won, and we stopped that closure. But then another mayor came in named Adrian Fenty, who was a man, and he actually closed the shelter in 2008 after having made campaign promises not to close it, and he just got voted out. So now we have Vincent Gregg. But since then, I've been involved as a homeless advocate. I've been advocating for the homeless for about 5 years, since June of 2006. And as it turns out, I've done several different interviews about the fact that homeless people use technology. Well, it all began on March 5th of 2009. Michelle Obama visited the homeless at Miriam's Kitchen, which is a place in D.C. that feeds the homeless. And there was a homeless guy there with a camera phone who took her picture, and then someone else took his picture and put it on the web and said, this homeless guy with a camera phone, why can't he pay rent?
Exactly.
As it turns out, a camera phone, you might pay $200 for the phone, you might pay $40 or $50 a month to keep it going, whereas rent here in D.C. averages about $1,500 per month for a 2-bedroom, and if you have a family, it's very hard to raise them. Anything less than a 3-bedroom, you need a room for the couple, or a room for the boys, and a room for the girls. At least 3 bedrooms.
And they also have track phones, don't they? I think there are government issued phones as well that you can get on as well. So money wasn't even an object.
Right. And so yes, there is community voicemail, and there are now the track phones, which were actually, I guess, kind of new still. But at any rate, homeless people do need to use technology. We do need to use phones and emails, because what happens is if you're staying at a homeless shelter and you're looking for a job, you give them the shelter number as the contact number. The boss calls with the job offer to say, I'm going to hire you. But then the shelter employee answers the phone and says, hello, Franklin School Shelter, hello, CCNB Shelter. And then he actually rescinds the job offer. And that, to me, is idiotic, because now you're homeless because you don't have a job, and now you can't get a job because you're homeless. And so it's a catch-22. But anyway, so there's that incident with the guy who had the camera phone when Michelle Obama visited the homeless at Miriam's Kitchen. And then 17 days later, on March 22nd, 2009, I got an email from a lady in California who used to live here in D.C. She says, Eric, I saw your name in the Washington Post online. And I'm like, I wasn't in the Post today. But I went to their site, and sure enough, there I was. A woman who had interviewed me in the past, named Petula Dvorak, took the liberty of putting my name into her article, as she did an article about homeless people using technology and how that we have emails and blogs and so forth. And I have 2 blogs, and so she went ahead and put my name in.
And what are those blogs?
One of them is my name, EricShptock.com. That's EricSheptock.com. And the other one is at change.org. You go to change.org, and then you go to the subdivision entitled Poverty in America, and as you scroll down, you'll see my name and my face, and
that's fantastic.
But also in April of 2009, myself and several other homeless advocates got interviewed by Russian TV, all around the fact that we as homeless people use technology. And then there was the big one in December of 2010, where I had been interviewed by the Washington Post, and I was on the front page of the Washington Post on December 13th, 2010, and on that same day, I was also in the Express newspaper, which is a local D.C. paper.
Right.
I was also on WAMU Radio 88.5 FM out of American University. I was on BBC Radio over in England, and Huffington Post Online, and anyway, since then I've also been interviewed by Voice of America, CNN, MSNBC, and most of it was around the fact that I use social media to advocate for the homeless. When the article came out on December 13th, I had 4,548 Facebook friends.
Wow.
In a single day, I got more than 600 friend requests. On December 13th, I had 840 Twitter followers. I now have almost 1,500.
Yeah.
And so it kind of took off, and also Facebook stops you at 5,000 friends.
Right.
And I couldn't even fill out all the requests.
Yeah.
And then I began a fan page, and so my fan page now has 7,000 people on it.
Wow.
And I've gained approximately 8,000 online contacts, all because of being in the news about the fact that I use social media to advocate for the homeless.
Exactly, being a passionate advocate.
Right, and you know what it goes to show though is that people, for one thing, think that a homeless person can't use a computer.
Yeah.
That number two, we don't have access to a computer. But it's very common for public libraries to give you free access to computers. Right. They also have this notion that we're not socially connected.
Yeah.
Then they find out that some homeless people have hundreds, or in my case, thousands of online contacts.
Exactly.
And then finally, you know, they're also surprised to find out that homeless people care about other homeless people, and even about people who aren't homeless.
Yeah.
And that we actually advocate for other people, you know, and speak up for other people, you know. But also, I'll say this, that I'm also a speaker for the National Coalition for the Homeless, which I'm assuming you wouldn't even guess that.
No, I did not know it. I can see your passion, though.
But I'm a speaker for the National Coalition for the Homeless. They have a speakers bureau where you can join if you're homeless or formerly homeless, and you can talk about, you know, anything that pertains to homelessness. You can talk about how you became homeless, or experiences you had in the shelter, or that you had on the street, how people treated you. Yeah. Or in my case, I talk a lot about government policies. I deal a lot with D.C. government.
Right.
And so that's my angle that I come from.
Yeah.
But at any rate, you know, the homeless issue is being put out there. It's becoming a very pertinent issue in today's economy.
Absolutely.
There was actually a piece recently run on 60 Minutes about Seminole County, Florida, because I spent about 20 years in Florida, actually.
Yeah, that's where you're from,
and so I spent about 20 years in Florida, and in Seminole County, which is not too far from Orlando, there are thousands of homeless school kids, and so this 60-minute report was about the homeless children and their families, and how that they're living in their cars and living in motels, and a lot of them were formerly middle-class people and white people. You know, homelessness is not a racial thing.
It's
you know, it's colorblind.
Yeah.
It can happen to anybody at any age for a number of different reasons.
Yeah.
And so it's becoming a very pertinent issue today, and a lot more folk are paying attention to the homeless issue, and so now all this homeless folk using social media and homeless people speaking out, you know, through a speakers bureau and so forth, that's all becoming very important in this day and age.
I absolutely love that. I mean, you've really broken down some stigmas and some barriers, Eric, and I really appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, but actually, you know, but right before I quit, I should probably say this little piece, which is that at NCH we talk about the 5 leading causes of homelessness.
Yeah, go ahead.
In this country, of course. So the number 1 cause of homelessness in the U.S. is lack of affordable housing.
Right.
Number 2 is lack of a living wage, and I think they actually work in tandem. Those 2 do.
Okay.
Number 3 is domestic violence, because if you're actually for women and children, that's number 1.
Okay.
And, you know, but because if you're being abused by your husband or boyfriend, then you run and you take the kids with you. He has the house, and then the woman and the children become homeless.
Yeah.
And then the number 4 reason is medical bankruptcy. You have chronic illness, you keep paying the doctor, and then you can't pay the rent. And then number 5 is mental illness.
Yeah.
So drug addiction and alcoholism are not even in the top 5.
Yeah.
And many of the homeless who actually are drug users or heavy drinkers, that's not how they became homeless.
Right.
You know, it's not the cause of their homelessness, but it was a coping mechanism that they developed after becoming homeless.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's stuff people don't really know about. Well, thanks again, Eric.
Right.
I really appreciate it, man.
All right, no problem.
Thanks for dropping by, shedding some light on the whole situation. All right. Okay. Right. Okay. Hello again. My name is Andre Blackman. We're here with the NTC for the online portion, and I'm here with Kat. And thanks for coming out here, Kat. And,
Thank you.
I know you have a very important project that you're working on that that we all heard about earlier in the conference, and I would love for you to talk more about that.
Sure. So I work with an organization called the 100,000 Homes Campaign.
Okay.
Which is an initiative of Common Ground, which is a larger organization that works on ending homelessness in different ways. But the campaign is specifically a project to find homes for 100,000 long-term and vulnerable homeless individuals and families across the country.
Okay, fantastic.
And we have actually a deadline that we've given ourselves to do that. So the project launched last July in 2010, and our deadline is July 2013. So it's 100,000 people in 3 years across the country.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. And I know we've been talking about storytelling, and I know one of the things that Dan Heath was showing was before and after pictures. And how do you really feel that, showing that, and I'm tying into emotion and feeling, how do you feel that causes action, I guess, rather than just awareness, but just looking at, people making a difference and moving things along?
Sure. The before and afters are interesting because we didn't realize how powerful they were until we started to show them to people.
Right.
And everywhere we go, every meeting, every online presentation, you show those pictures. And for anyone who didn't see them, basically it's a picture of someone when they were homeless. And most of these people had been out there for a really long time. So the first picture that Dan Heath showed in his presentation yesterday was a man named Ed Givens. He's been homeless for 30 years.
Wow, okay.
He had, I think his street name was Wild Bill or something like that, and he was someone that people just really didn't think was ever going to move into housing. He was a really difficult case, and all of these things that people say when someone's been out there for a long time.
Right.
And our partner, the Skid Row Housing Trust in Los Angeles, actually did move him into housing, and he's still there and still housed. And they took a photograph of him when he was on the street, and then they took a photograph of him after he'd been in housing for a little while. And the physical transformation is just really remarkable.
And very noticeable.
It's really noticeable. And we sort of learned that rather than us trying to describe people going into treatment after their house or sort of these nuts and bolts types of things that happen as a result of housing.
Right.
Showing those pictures and saying nothing for a while just really sinks in for folks. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like the information versus emotion type of thing where, people want to do and bring about change because of how they feel.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And I think the book Switch that Dan and his brother Chip wrote really resonated with us because in a lot of homeless services and a lot of places where this work is going on, there's a lot of, there's so many homeless people, or there's been this % decrease, or there's been this many shelters open, a lot of kind of information that's being put out there to try to motivate people. And I think that an area where the whole field could benefit would be from appealing to people's elephants.
Absolutely, yes.
And not in a way that says, let's throw up our hands in the air, homelessness is such a horrible problem, look at this, sad homeless person on the street, but in a way that says, hey, people are solving this problem around the country.
Celebrating.
People are moving into housing. Let's celebrate that, and let's figure out how we can do that more.
Exactly.
So I think the before and afters are really powerful for that reason. And I think one of the reasons that I personally also really like them is that you can see that Ed Givens is just a person. And he experienced homelessness, but that was just something that he went through. It wasn't a defining element of who he was. So you can kind of see, he's a person. He was homeless at one point. He's in housing now. And that housing condition is something that has an effect on people the same way that other things that might happen in your life too.
Exactly.
So,
well, thank you so very much, Kat. Now, how can the viewers find out more about the project? Where can they go online, or how can they get involved? That kind of thing.
The first thing to do, I think, would be to go to our website, which is www.100khomes.org.
100K Homes.
100K Homes. So it's the number 100. K Homes. And that's actually also our Twitter handle is at 100K Homes.
Fantastic.
And our Facebook page is facebook.com/100K Homes. So if you can remember that, then you
can
find us.
Very great branding on that. All right.
So it's nice and easy. And when you go to our website, depending on where you live, your community, there's 75 communities who are enrolled in the campaign now. And those communities have collectively housed 7,630 folks so far. And we actually have a map. If you go onto the website and click results, there's a map where you can see all the communities that are enrolled. And you can see if yours is one of those communities. And the map's actually interactive, and you can click on a pin for your community. And if your community is enrolled, it has contact information. So you can say, all right, I'm in DC, I'm enrolled, who do I contact to get involved? Get involved locally. If they're not enrolled, you should feel free to, there's sort of an info form on the site, but you can also reach out to me. You can tweet at 100K Homes. My Twitter handle is at @JohnsonCat. However you want to reach out to us, and just say that you're interested, and we can see what we can do about getting more information and helping you get started.
Fantastic. Well, you guys heard it first here. And thank you so very much, Kat.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
It was wonderful to meet you.
Likewise, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right.